Weekly Gripe is brought to you by The Author's Lens, the premier literary magazine where you can be a part of it. Learn more at theauthorslens.com. Senior Living Today, home of the Living Legacy Planner, a way to help seniors live more independently and get ready for their final times ahead. Carter Elite Travel, let Luna Carter put together the best travel package for your destination. Welcome to an all-new Weekly Gripe, voting edition. I'm AC Campbell, and as always, welcome to the show. This is sponsored by Senior Living Today, The Author's Lens, and Carter Elite Travel. Today, I do want to start with a group of series I want to call the How to Vote edition. With the midterms coming up, watching the last few election cycles, I've got to say what's been on my mind for the last few years, and that's a lot of you guys do not know how to vote or don't know the tools to vote, because it's a lot more than just going in there and picking your candidate just from watching a few talking heads. It's a lot more than that, and I'll go over that within the next few weeks. But today, I just want to get into just some basics in how to vote. When we're thinking about our voting, there's a lot more than just listening to rhetoric and just picking your candidate. You got to really understand who the candidate is. And for a lot of us, we treat the elections like an American Idol, or like we're voting someone off an island, or in our current president's case, The Apprentice. I mean, this is not a reality show. This is real life. And real life decisions can either make or break your decision come election day. You guys are basing your candidate on likability and who can talk the most stuff despite the ability to back it up. And I want to go into a lot of those things today. And like I say, I'm going to end up repeating myself over the next few weeks, but it's going to start making sense. And then there are a lot of things that are absent, like real journalistic facts. We're hearing mudslinging on both sides and stories and anecdotes. And this president did this president did that. Okay. Let's talk about what these presidents are doing now. Now, a lot of times the past do affect what they do now, especially if they're into the same behavior. But a lot of times, if we see a change in that behavior, that past is so irrelevant. But again, we'll get into that over the next few weeks. Today, I'm going to share ways on how to vote and hopefully break a few habits between today and the next series of gripes. Today, I want to talk about some uncomfortable talking points that are not in your best interests. And they only come up from the huge election cycles. Midterms, not so much, but with the presidential elections coming up, they're going to be coming up a lot. As of right now, we've got the war in Iran. We've got gas prices. We got people not able to afford certain things, their medicines, their groceries, their, basic needs. We're now back to deciding whether we need to pay rent or get a few groceries, things like that. The elderly, the middle lower class. Affordability is back in the news. But you know what we like to talk about, especially during big election cycles? We like to distract you with drag queens, the gay agenda, bathrooms, abortions. Because those are what really bother you. Those are what really are a problem. Even though statistically, not really. But because we want to scare you and fear-monger you, or they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're doing this, they're doing that. the whole the the whole agenda with illegal immigrants. And before I continue, you guys will have to put the structure. Were Democrats weak on immigration, or has Obama done more deportations? See, you got to stick with one lie. But again, that's going to be a future. That's going to be a future. We'll get into that later. But these agendas that they distract you with, and every huge election cycle, watch. When it comes with the next election, these are going to come up. I'm going to ask you a question. Well, first, let me explain this. Even though the LGBTQIA population, drag queens, and those doing abortion, they've been around since the dawn of time. But I just want to ask you a personal question. Now, I'm not trying to change your opinion of any of that. I'm not trying to change your moral standing on any of that. I just have a simple personal question. When was the last time you personally had an awful experience from the gay community, someone doing an abortion, or just anything, or an illegal immigrant? Now I know we have instances where illegal immigrants have committed crimes, but I'm talking about you personally. I'm talking to the average person. Because see, for to get into those, you have TVs with off buttons. That's what they're for. Change the channel, turn TV off, things like that. But when we're in a situation where we can't afford bills, we can't afford rent, we can't afford basic needs, how has that affected your ability to pay your bill? None of that should even matter to you right now, because affordability is actually your biggest, should be your biggest thing right now. We can argue these things down the line when we can afford to go to the store. We can argue these things down the line when we can afford gas. We can argue these things down the line when we can afford to live, period. So right now, the average price of gas is $4 a gallon. And even now, Biden's getting blamed for that. We live in a world where if enough people say it, it must be the truth. If enough people say grass is blue and the sky is brown, if enough people say it, it's going to be true. Because enough people say it, because that's how we do our research. We don't research like, let me explain how some people do research. Normally, that's what we have the internet for. Now, I know the internet's not 100% reliable, but if you know where to go, it is very reliable. We have many bad computers at the palm of our hands, and the only thing we use it for is to download social media and look up celebrity news. That's all we do. Look up celebrity news, gossip, text. And there's nothing wrong with any of that, don't get me wrong. But we can also use these, meaning computers, our laptops, our tablets, to research real topics. Let me explain how research works. The right way is I look something up. I look for it, and I look that up on a legitimate site, a legitimate, like I say, if it's statistics, I'll look up the actual study, where it comes from, so forth, so forth, so forth. I track the numbers. How they do research is, if I showed you that actual data, they'll go back to their buddy's original website, who's actually done no research. They listen to a bunch of knuckleheads who just actually said the numbers were wrong and gave their reason why the numbers were wrong. So they're basically going around exchanging wrong information. Now, can I be wrong? Yes. I don't mind being wrong, but I'm going to still look up the same right information, even if it's different than what I say it is, and I'm going to agree with it. The news is not, journalism is not just news you agree with. It's news that's going to inform you about anything and everything, what, where, when, where, why, and how, whether you agree with it or not. Right now, again, while you're being distracted by the eating the dogs and cats and all this other stuff, they're gerrymandering the South. Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, South Carolina, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and North Carolina are all seeing significant redistricting efforts. And not like California. What I mean, not like California, California is redistricting because the people voted for it. There are no votes here. They're doing it because they're trying to take you back to Jim Crow. And if you Black GOP people don't believe it, then that's on you. It's not my job to try to convince you. I'm speaking to my people. I'm speaking to those who are actually listening. People are now pushing back against it. If they weren't trying to take it back, people would be pushing back. A couple weeks ago, there was a second march on Selma. And I'm just going to put it out there like this. Some of the original people who marched on Selma came right back out, got out of their chairs to get out and march their bridge again. Because they see that the system that we fought for changing was allowed to get knocked right back, almost square one. But again, we get distracted by agendas, scapegoating past presidents, and other media hype. We're not even focusing, y'all. The last election cycle, we had a candidate with an actual plan, while the other one had concepts of a plan. What I mean by an actual plan, people say, well, what did she have? Well, had you done your research? They were going to pay people, pay first-time homeowners to buy a house. I believe it was about $20,000. They were going to give you $20,000 towards your down payment on a house. For those with businesses, they were going to give you money to either start a business or expand a business, with the first $5,000 being forgivable. They were going to create something called a second chance economy, to where you not only be able to get ahead, you might be able to change classes, where you're not lower class anymore. We all get to be middle class. Or if we continue to fight, upper class. Because like Mamandi in New York, who's making millionaires pay their fair share, that's what they were planning on doing. But see, there's tools with that. Now I'm going to explain those tools again in the next few weeks. Bottom line, for those who don't know how to vote, I have some basic rules for you. Number one, ensure that you are registered to vote. So always go check your registry. You can always check it online. You can call your you call the local voting, your polling place. Make sure that you are registered to vote. Make sure you have the tools to vote. Normally for me, it's my driver's license, state ID, and piece of mail, and which is preferably a current bill and a birth certificate if necessary. Um, some people were talking about a passport. I mean, you can make sure your passport is on. Make sure you have the tools when you go out. And also, too, when you see if you're registered, make sure you have what you need to get out there and vote. That way you're not going out there wasting your time. Sometimes you're going to have to turn off the TV. I used to work in TV where it was something where I would get phone calls. I used to work as a broadcast engineer on TV station. And, I sometimes aired a lot of programming. And we get phone calls about stuff on TV that I guess the viewers didn't like. I worked at a TV station in the Bible Belt, so I don't normally get these calls a lot. Um, one of my big one of my biggest things, I'll never tell a viewer that, but one of my biggest things in the back were like, don't TVs have all switches? Don't TVs have where you can change the channel? If you don't want to be influenced by a certain agenda, turn that mess off. Now, I love me some Simone Sanders. I love me some Chuck Todd. MSNBC. The hosts are fine. But the problem I have is we're doing less news and more talking heads of opinion pieces. And then we're doing the headline is always not something factual, but a quote of what the talking head said. And then people are actually taking that as actual news facts. Like, for example, liberals are burning Bibles, which that's not really going on. That's what someone said, and that got quoted. You gotta learn to turn that mess off. When you turn it off, do your own research. Do your own research of every candidate that you vote for. Make sure you do that. That way you know who you are voting for. Don't go to that. This is serious like taking a test. You're going to school, you got a big exam. This is a big exam. You got to know who's who before you start voting for. I have some news outlets that you can 100% trust that gives you the what, where, when, why, who, and how. And they do nothing but give you factual information. Number one is the Associated Press. Number two is Reuters. Number three, surprisingly, the PBS NewsHour. It's actually noted as the most trusted news, unbiased news source on U.S. television. But we don't like public television anymore because we're trying to get rid of it. However, its news sources are still the most unbiased ever. Next, we got the BBC News, which is the most trusted international news source. These are news stations without an agenda. These are news stations that want to keep giving you the facts. These are news stations that a lot of the TV networks get information from. Just remember that. Now, if you want to check your facts, there's a lot of times there are good fact checkers out there. Now, fact checkers have also gotten a bad name. But, however, these are some fact checkers, nonpartisan sources you can trust. Factcheck.org. I use them a lot. I love factcheck.org. There's Snopes. I love Snopes. Snopes is pretty cool. Actually, I have friends turn me on to Snopes. PolitiFact, that's another one. Just like factcheck.org. I love that. These stories I don't know too much about, but I did look at it, and they're pretty good too. And finally, the AP, the Associated Press fact checker. So the latter two I've heard of. I never actually really done too much research on, but I am going to start looking at them as well. Next thing you have to do, you have to be honest with yourself. At some point, you're going to have to ask yourself, why is the only news out there the only news I agree with? The news is not out there to please you. The news is not out there to comfort you. News, the news is the news. Whether you agree with what's going on or not, the news is the news. Lately, if it doesn't agree with the president that's in power, it's usually done as fake news. Why is that? Because no one has ever, in many arguments I've had with people, no one still never told me one thing that this current administration has done wrong. You find fault in every other administration except this one. Okay. But again, another gripe for another day. Number 5 is my favorite one. Actually, this one really ticks me off. Despite your party affiliation, note there's bad and good in every administration. Everyone's not all bad, everyone's not all good, but there are some good and bad in every administration. You're going to have to get rid of both sides, are the two wings to a bird. And nope, 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 nope. All their agendas with a lot of government officials, you're damn skipping. However, believe it or not, there are some out there trying to make a difference. Some actually tried to give you a chance to vote for them, and you never did. Because you're worried about agendas, you let people demonize them. And I know a lot of times party messaging is off. And we'll also get into party messaging at some point too, but we're going to have to get off of that because here's what both sides do. Here's what you do with you say both sides are bad and you do the third party, which you know is never going to get elected. But you vote for them because you protest. And then you end up getting the wrong person elected when you do that. We're gonna have to get rid of that. We're gonna have to get rid of that. Just take a chance. Vote for your best interest. Now, we're also going to have to make an effort to vote in every election, including midterms. When I get into, I'm going to do a special on Obama and do an autopsy of the Obama administration in the next couple of weeks. I want to talk about how voting in every election, especially during his term, would have made a lot of difference. And I'm just gonna put it out there, we're the ones who failed Obama, but again, I will explain that in a future gripe next couple of weeks. But you have to vote in every election. Yes. While we wait for the president to do something, while we wait for our elected officials to do something, you forget we have governors, mayors, prosecutors, senators, congresspeople, judges, alderpersons, state and local representatives, school board members. We got so many within our own communities that we vote for that we trust to make a difference. A lot of times, a lot of you go vote, you don't even know half the people on the list that you're voting for. Well, somebody running for judge? Somebody running for sheriff? Somebody running for this? You have to know who you're voting for, especially on the local level. Local levels where things can actually get done. You have to know who your representatives are. You have to know who your alder people. You have to know who your state representatives are. You have to know who your local representatives are. You have to know who your judges are, prosecutors. You've got to know these people. Your senators, your Congress people. You've got to stop falling for flash. and misjudging efforts. Just because someone sells you a good game doesn't mean that they can back it up. But see, that's why I say you have to keep an eye on the people who actually do have a plan, who actually is showing you their hand, who is actually trying their best to say, hey, here I am. But speaking of Mamandi, shout out to him, his New York mayor. Now his administration, the blueprint, what a president, a good presidency can be. Within his first few months of office, closed the deficit without having to lay off people, started making millionaire to billionaire pay their own fair share. Uh, he started working on wages as far as yesterday. People getting paid fair wages, state-run grocery stores, things like that. So if we keep along the positive path, we're going to be okay. But that's it for this weekly gripe. Again, I'm Matthew Campbell. Thank you. Let your writing fuel your spirit, and God bless.